The story of the Anunnaki is becoming increasingly prevalent in our collective consciousness. Large YouTube channels are mentioning the Anunnaki, drawing in millions of views. But let's take a closer look at the story and analyze whether it actually makes sense. It all started with Zecharia Sitchin, who, after visiting several archaeological sites, became an enthusiast of Sumerian culture and taught himself the Sumerian language. In 1976, he published the book The 12th Planet, where he provided his translation and interpretation of Sumerian tablets. Sitchin interpreted ancient Sumerian texts and suggested that the myths and legends of the gods were based on real historical events involving extraterrestrial beings called the Anunnaki. According to Sitchin, these beings came from a distant planet known as Nibiru. Nibiru, also referred to as the 12th planet, is said to have an elongated, elliptical orbit that brings it close to Earth every 3,600 years. Sitchin theorized that Nibiru is a large planet, though its exact size is not definitively stated. He claimed it is much larger than Earth, possibly comparable to a gas giant like Neptune or Uranus. According to the story, the Anunnaki came to Earth in search of gold to repair their planet's atmosphere. They supposedly genetically engineered humans to serve as laborers in their mines. The Igigi, a group of Anunnaki, were initially tasked with laboring on Earth before humans were created. According to Sitchin, the Igigi later revolted against their harsh conditions, leading to the creation of humans as a replacement labor force. Sitchin's interpretations of ancient texts have been widely criticized by scholars and scientists who argue that his translations and conclusions are not supported by evidence. However, his ideas have gained a significant following among those interested in alternative history and ancient astronaut theories. To debunk this story, let's focus on Nibiru. A planet's gravity is closely related to its mass. Jupiter, for example, has the strongest gravity of any planet in our solar system, more than 3 times stronger than Earth's gravity. Jupiter is a gas giant, and you cannot stand on it. If Jupiter were a solid planet, its gravity would be even stronger due to the increased mass. High gravity would require life forms to be short and dense. However, the Anunnaki, according to Sitchin, were about 4 meters tall and looked like us. Another factor to consider is the temperature of the planet. For most of its orbit, Nibiru would be far beyond Pluto, where the surface temperature is around -369 degrees Fahrenheit, -233 degrees Celsius. Under these conditions, life could not survive on the planet's surface. The only chance for life on such a planet would be deep under the ocean, near underwater volcanic activity. We have stories of other civilizations like this visiting Earth. For example, the Dogon African tribe provides information about beings from Sirius B called the Namo.
A desert tribe called the Dogon, isolated in the African wilderness, may have identified a star invisible to the unaided eye. How is this possible? How could the Dogon possess this sophisticated astronomical information?
The Dogon believe the universe was born in a vast explosion, and as it opened up, everything that we know about and everything that the Dogon know about in the world came pouring out, and nothing was left except a shell. This empty shell became the star that they call the Pontolo, and that we call Sirius B.
In 1950, astronomers confirmed the existence of the Dogon star. At the United States Naval Observatory, Washington, D.C., Chief Astronomer Dr. Irving Lindenblad devoted years to the search for the dark star.
The Sirius system is a very interesting challenge observationally because it is very difficult to observe a star 10 seconds from such a bright object as Sirius A.
After the years of effort, Dr. Lindenblad finally succeeded in taking this photograph of Sirius B and its giant companion. They say that when it gave forth all its energy, it collapsed in upon itself, becoming incredibly dense and so heavy that all the earthly beings combined cannot lift it. The San Fernando Observatory, Sylmar, California. Dr. Gary Chapman is an astronomer specializing in the physical characteristics of stars. By splitting the light collected from a distant star into colored bands, its physical characteristics can be analyzed.
The Sirius B is fairly normal in the surface layers, but we do rely on the calculations to tell us that the interior is essentially out of nuclear fuel. It's a dead star. We know from modern calculations that it has a very, very high density. It has a density about 5 million times that of water. And if you were to be on the surface of Sirius B right now, you'd be crushed very, very flat because the surface gravity is about 100 million times that of the Earth.
Occurring every 60 years, the Siggy is the most important ceremony in Dogon life. The Siggy is an event relating directly to the sacred star. The Siggy marks the completion of an orbit, the time when Earth, the giant Sirius, and the sacred star are directly aligned. Minute shifts in the position of the giant Sirius led astronomers to suspect the gravitational influence of an unseen companion. When computer studies of the data were complete, they verified that a small star orbited Sirius every 60 years, exactly as the Dogon claimed.
These creatures are described as having elongated heads, almond-shaped eyes, blue skin, and fish-like features such as scales and fins. They wore suits filled with water. The Namo's appearance is quite different from that of the Anunnaki, who supposedly looked much like us but were larger. The Anunnaki would need an environment similar to ours, which we cannot find on any other planet in our solar system. Next place beside our solar system for life to start is the binary star system Alpha Centauri A and B. With our current technology, we will need to fly there for 120,000 years. Still, there are around 3 trillion planets in our galaxy alone. They can come from any of them. Now let's consider the Anunnaki's supposed mission on Earth. They came here to mine gold, even though there are asteroids full of gold flying through space. Sitchin asks us to believe that beings who traveled at least 4.5 light years to Earth brought slaves for manual labor. This doesn't make sense. Our civilization, which is only now beginning to venture into space, is just 20 years away from making physical labor obsolete. If the Anunnaki were so advanced, they would have used nanobots or other technologies we can't even imagine to extract gold. Sitchin claims they were digging for gold for 432,000 years.
You serious?
I'm not saying we developed naturally on this planet. The truth is that every cell in our body tells a story of biological engineering. We were created artificially, but not for physical labor. We must acknowledge that our creators are similar to us, just as we are to them. Do we explain the reasons for medical experiments on animals? We don't. So why should we expect them to explain the reasons for our creation? Even if they wanted to, we might not be able to understand. In the best scenario, they could tell us some story about a planet behind Pluto, an alien aristocracy, and its power struggles. This story was picked up by an amateur archaeologist 5,000 years later, and his book became popular because people seek meaning in their lives. In the modern world, traditional religions, especially in Western culture, have become disconnected from reality. More intelligent people have started seeing things as they truly are. In my upcoming philosophical science fiction audiobook, I will provide more details about the real reason for our creation. If you're not afraid of the truth and have an open mind, this audiobook is for you. Or you can wait for the second part of this video, the real reason for creation. Thank you for watching.
The world is not crowded in the year 2082. This is due to the energy crises, wars, famines, deterioration of family values, and pandemics that occurred in the early 21st century. The biggest factor for this population decline was 2 solar flares that hit in 2024 and 2026. The last one destroyed all electrical grids around the planet, pushing us into a dark age. People in big cities starved to death. Earth was boiling over with internal conflict before the first solar flare, and nuclear war was very close. Corporate media was not interested in reporting real news that did not benefit shareholders. Panic was really bad for businesses, and scientists did not have a platform to voice their concerns. This changed after the first flare destroyed half of the Earth's power grid and all Earth's satellite. The first flare was not much stronger than the flare from 1859, but the world has changed a lot since that event. It takes 10 years for people to go back to the level of development before the solar flares. But then progress speeds up because of artificial intelligence. The modern world no longer suffers from hunger or energy crises. All of these issues have passed. We all immortal. Earth is split into 4 regions controlled by different super artificial intelligence: Europe Federation, Africa United, United Americas, and Asia Oceania Australia, AOA. And then they show up.
Read more in History of Aliens